Good day, dear friends. Welcome to another episode of the Culinary Masterclass supported by la Fondation pour la Formation Hôtelière. Dear friends, as you can see here in front of me are various types of cured meat products and several types of cheese. Today I will explain and show you some culinary tricks and give you tips on how to cut and then serve these products like real professionals in the kitchen. I guess most of you don't have these professional deli cutting machines at home, but you can buy everything cut in the store. I will now explain to you how to cut the meze, how to serve it, how to stack it, how to arrange and decorate it, what you need to pay attention to so that it looks beautiful and decorative, as attractive and high quality as possible. I'm going to cut these products that I have now. I want to show you what to pay attention to if you ever have the opportunity to cut cured meat products yourself. What I want to cut now is the rolled pork neck. Depending on the size of the piece of meat itself and whether we plan to stack the cut pieces flat or bent, we determine how thin or thick we will cut the meat. I have a similar machine at home, of course much smaller, but I almost always cut the products myself because that way it's easier for me to cut to the thickness that suits me and later put it together the way I imagined. I now set the machine to a thickness of 2 mm. Usually the thickness for dried meat products is between 1.5 and 4 mm. Depending on what we are cutting. I think 2 mm thickness works for me for this piece. Why do I like to cut my own meat? When I cut, I take each piece of meat and stack it on top of the other. I do this because meat has its own fat that is woven through the meat, and then it is very important that each piece, as it is cut, stacks on top of the other, because later when we arrange this meat, we will also stack one piece of meat after another, following exactly its natural fat or line of meat, to make it something like a mosaic, and that way it will look much more beautiful and decorative. You will see, I will show you soon what I meant. Now I cut the meat and take it, and then stack one piece on top of the other. I take it and stack one piece on top of the other. And now each of these parts follows its own, so to speak, natural line. When we order meat to be cut in a store, unfortunately, because of the rush they are in and because of the lack of knowledge about these details, they just cut the meat and throw the pieces in without following their natural line. You see, they cut it like this, so that the pieces of meat just fall off. They then transfer it to plastic and package it for us. When you get home, you try to stack these products, but it will be much more difficult because you can't follow the natural line of the meat and stack it so that everything is very decorative. For this reason, I ask the sellers when they cut my cured meat products to try to stack the pieces on top of each other. You see, when we started cutting this piece of meat, there was a lot of fat on it, but that fat wasn't distributed throughout the entire piece of meat. And when we put these little pieces of meat on a plate or a serving board, we'll put them exactly like we cut them, so that the natural path of the fat follows. Now we'll cut this second piece of meat. We call it pecca and it's a part of the pork. We cut it in the same way as the previous piece. I cut it piece by piece and take it over and put it together. I take each piece over and put it together. We cut the meat as much as we need, depending on how many people we're going to serve. These are all homemade products. My family prepared this. My father and mother, my wife, children and I, we all participate in preparing the meat for drying. Dad dries the meat with smoke and in the cold air. And now we're all enjoying these top-notch homemade products. Now I will cut this ham, cut off the skin and leave it for cooking some kind of stew or sauce. And cut the ham. We turn this fatty part of the ham to the upper side, because if it is turned to the lower side, it often happens that it slips off the knife of the machine and the fat begins to underline around the knife. That's why we turn the fat to the upper side and then the knife easily catches the fat and cuts it. Cut the ham in the same way as the previous pieces of meat. I cut and stack. Now we will also cut the bacon. I separate the skin, which is very hard and does not want to be eaten like this. We separate the skin for cooking with beans and cabbage, add it to the sauce for aroma and smell. I cut the bacon in half so that they are shorter pieces when I cut. I will also cut the bacon a little thicker, so I will set the machine to 2.5 millimeters, so that will be a good thickness. We cut in the same way. I cut, take and stack one piece on top of the other. I'll cut the sausage into even thicker slices, 3 to 4 millimeters. Here we have cut our pieces of meat, and now I'll show you how to stack and arrange them nicely. I'll take this plate that has a wood print. It's very decorative. You can serve on some wooden plates, ceramic plates, rose frynum, whatever you already have in your home or restaurant. Wooden plates are no longer used in restaurants because they warp and crack after washing, so these ceramic or plastic ones with a wood print are used. When dried meat was stacked before, it was just stacked flat and decorated a little. Now the different pieces of meat are arranged differently. Some pieces will be laid flat while some pieces will be raised to get a 3D variant, so we will arrange them like waves. Some will be made into roses, some tubes, so that we will get dry meat on the plate, which will be very decorative. Now I stack the dry neck side by side. What you need to pay attention to is that you arrange exactly the way you cut it, that there is an equal distance between the pieces of meat, that each fat is placed on top of each other, that it is like a mosaic. See what I've been telling you all along, how this line matches and follows. As we cut, we stacked one piece on top of the other, and now we stack it on the plate and all the lines of the meat match and follow, naturally, right? And look how it looks when we don't pay attention to that, and when we arrange those pieces of meat that I just threw in without any order. You can see how much worse it looks visually. It's not attractive, it's not pretty. That's why I'm showing you what to pay attention to and how to arrange dried meat in the best possible way. Pay attention that nothing goes over the edge of the plate. That shouldn't happen either. Arrange it about 3 to 4 millimeters below the edge of the plate. Look at this detail too. You see here at the beginning the fat was on one side, but here at the end it's on the other side. That's the natural path of the meat that we followed, so this looks elegant and beautiful. Since this meat is extremely dark in color, now we'll arrange something lighter in color. Bacon is fine, it's white and will give a contrast, and we'll arrange it in the shape of waves, i.e. we'll raise one part to make it look richer. Here I will also stack one piece of bacon flat, so you can see the difference when it is stacked flat on top of another piece or when you lift it up a bit. You see both examples and you decide which one is more beautiful to you and then agree. To me, this raised part is nicer and the plate looks much richer when I raise the meat part. After arranging the bacon, I will now arrange a new type of cured meat. I will also stack up, like waves. When stacking, I freely turn the plate and adjust it to make stacking as easy as possible. When we come to the end, then this part of the meat that we are now stacking is underlined under these complex pieces, so that everything looks compact and beautiful, as if everything was put together at once and you can't see where the beginning is and where the end is. Now we're going to stack the ham. We can stack it in several ways. One of the ways is to fold it, but since this is a large piece and the thin one goes all the way down, I will stack it like this, as if I crumple it a little and place it. I saw this in Italy when I was studying Italian cuisine there. They cut all cured meat products very thinly and always try to elevate it somehow. And in my opinion it is very decorative and beautiful. We can also put it together in the shape of a cone, you see, fold and wrap it to get a nice cone shape and then put it on a plate. Now we're going to put some more sausage on it and I think that's all we've got. Yes, this looks nice. I just want to emphasize that we arrange each type of meat in a different way so that they show that they are different types of meat by the way they are served. I crumpled the ham and put it in a cone just to show you the stacking options, but otherwise I would crumple the ham and, for example, put the mortadella in the shape of a cone. On the same plate, in addition to dry meat, we can arrange cheeses as well as decoration. Green salad, we can put cherry tomatoes, olives, pickles and vegetables as desired. I still decided to leave only this dry meat on this plate, and now I will quickly show you how to cut and arrange several types of cheese on the plate. First I'll take this homemade goat cheese, which has a nice texture and shape and is easy to cut. I will cut this type of cheese into a rectangle shape. I think it will highlight the quality of this cheese. Look, I'll transfer it and set it up. Now I will take another type of cheese. This is Trappist cheese, a famous cheese that is produced in my town Banja Luka. We peel it a little, that is, we cut off this cover from it, and since it has this shape, I will now cut it into a triangle. When I cut it, I arrange it nicely and rest it on the previously cut cheese. Now I will take this cheese, which is almost identical in color and structure to the first one we cut. What is important and you should know, you should cut each type of cheese in a different way. Since this type of cheese is made from cow's milk, unlike the first cheese that is made from goat's milk, and they look almost identical, we will cut this cheese into cubes, for example, and in this way further emphasize to the guests that these are two different types of cheese, regardless of the fact that they have the same color and structure. To repeat, you cut each type of cheese in a different way and thus additionally emphasize the different types of cheese. For example, if you are going to serve Edam cheese and Gouda cheese on one plate, which are almost identical visually, then you will cut the Gouda into cubes, for example, and cut the Edam cheese into a triangle, thus emphasizing to the guests that it is two types of cheese. And now I'm going to add the fourth type of cheese to this plate of ours. It's Gorgonzola. I'm going to tear it with my hands to get smaller, uneven pieces of cheese and serve it on the plate. To put some fresh herbs as decoration. Here I will take a sprig of fresh rosemary and decorate a little. Now I have 4 types of cheese on my plate and each type is cut and presented in a different way. Now we can decorate this cheese with fresh or pickled vegetables, with hot peppers, with spring onions, with herbs, with olives. We can also decorate with hazelnuts, almonds, walnuts, dried fruits, fresh fruits or marmalades. Dear friends, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. What kind of cheese and dry meat you will put together, whether you will put everything on one plate or separate them, that is up to you. Just follow these few tips that I have shown you and you will have a cold appetizer put together in a top gastronomic way. Until the next video, cook and love. Bye.